All right, we are going live, officially going live. I'm not sure if I can be heard properly. I'm trying to get a good angle here. There is absolutely no internet where I am, and it's a struggle trying to find some place to actually be able to stream properly. As I get this going, as you guys bounce in, let me know if you can hear me okay. I'm hoping I'm finding this one little corner where I could potentially sit to stream this. We're going to pull this up live right now, make sure we're actually connecting, make sure we're actually able to get a quality stream. I don't even know if there's a quality stream over here. It's been a struggle trying to find something. Let's see here. It looks like we're streaming something, and there we go. Yeah, it looks like we're live and streaming with actually pretty decent without any issue. So it is 8 a.m. Saturday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday. We'll let a few people start bouncing in here. Hopefully this is streaming out and people are seeing it. If yes, we've got a ton of things that we're going to talk about today, a lot to go over, and let's see what we can actually accomplish today. So I'm hoping this is going out public and this isn't just being broadcasted private, which is what it looks like. It looks like it might be broadcasted private. So let's see what we've got here. I have a feeling this isn't broadcasting out. Let's see here. It looks like it is not broadcasting. Oh, there we go. It is broadcasting. Okay. All set. Everything is set. So what's going on, Matt, Dan? How's it going? Hopefully everything's coming in loud and clear. If the voice audio is good, let me know. It looks pretty clear on my end. So hoping we don't get interrupted here. I had to find a corner someplace to to gather in. So, what's up, WB? How's it going? Good to see you. In the corner behind a pool, and so you can see there's a rescue. I guess that's not. I don't know what that is. That's a tubing of some sort. I thought it was a life preserver there, just in case might need the life preserver. So, anyhow, today I wanted to really get into some good topic, and I figure why not do that on an early Saturday morning. But you guys are a lot of you guys are tuning in from across the globe, so it's already afternoon or evening where a lot of you guys are tuning in from. So we are going to discuss today. I want to go over and I look at this as round two, mainly round two, because we're going to talk about the Federal Reserve and what the Federal Reserve is now responding. And we're talking about Federal Reserve. We're talking about Jerome Powell, how he's responding to the faster payment task force. I think it's really interesting. I think the timing of everything is really interesting. We're going to also then look at why is it so significant as to why Jerome Powell, the central bank, the Federal Reserve, why are they stepping into this fray of the payment space now, when it was very clear a little bit over maybe a week, 2 weeks ago, that the Federal Reserve was actually nowhere near or considering rollout of a faster payment solution. And I thought that was pretty evident from the hearings. So why is that relevant? Why is it relevant that Walmart is now issuing a patent into the payment space? What does that also mean in general? And why does that factor in with what Ripple has been accomplishing, RippleNet? How does XRP factor into that? I think that's a critical component. And then Facebook Libra, how did that bring everything to light? So those are kind of the things that we're going to talk about today. So I'm looking forward to it. Hey, what's up, Bubba? Man, you like that? It looks pretty real, doesn't it? It's I've been working on my special effects, trying to make things look a little bit more realistic in the studio. So yeah, so today we are off-site, hanging out on this early morning, trying to find. There is absolutely no internet where I am, if you can believe that, which is astonishing, absolutely astonishing. And so I'm actually having to use the hotspot from my phone, and tell you the truth, I think the hotspot from my phone is actually streaming better than my internet connection back at the house. So I think that that definitely says something. My only problem here is the brightness. I can't get the laptop bright enough, and that's I was trying to find a shady space to where I can actually read some of the comments as they scroll through. So what I might end up doing here is actually pull up the live chat on my phone, put that here because I can actually see that a little bit better than I can the live stream or chat over on the computer here. So let me just acknowledge a few people that bounced in. Who was the first one that bounced in here today? Matt LaRoche. Matt, man, throw in your Twitter. Put your Twitter. Did you see that effect of the bird? Man, I planned that one. So Matt, throw in your Twitter. And I'm going to throw you some free XRP first into the stream. Always gets a little free XRP. I know I wasn't able to do that the last time because I was more focused in on why we're having streaming issues. So go ahead and do that, and I'm going to shoot you over some free XRP. Matt LaRoche, I think you have a good comment here. I think that Congressman, what is that? Oh, that the Congressman tore a new one. Made Powell look like an idiot. I think that's definitely part of it. Powell definitely looked like a fool. And I know going back into work was probably a struggle for him the following day, based on the fact that once again, government officials looked completely unprepared for really discussing or taking part in any aspect of new tech and the digital asset space, especially when it came to payments. So awesome. Yeah, Bob, I appreciate that. Hey, guys, new to the stream, make sure you hit subscribe. If not new, make sure you hit the thumbs up on your way in, hit the thumbs up on the way out. If you don't like any part of the stream today, give it a thumbs down. That's okay, too. And if you guys can do me a favor, like just Bubba just did, shoot out a tweet. That would be awesome. And let's get the word out that we're actually live and streaming right now. So, Dansky, I think Powell is holding back a lot. There's something going on, and these guys know, I'm sure these guys are very well aware of everything that is happening and transpiring in general. So this is, obviously we know from the payment space, we know from Marcus, what was his name? I forget Marcus's first name. Was it David or something like that? Marcus from Facebook discussing Libra. He obviously held back a lot. We know the Fed is holding back a lot. We know Congress is holding back a lot. We know just in general, the public does not get all of the information necessary to truly make proper decisions. So, hey, Whitefly, what's going on? Good to see you on. You like the new name? Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Matt. Matt, throw in your. Oh, there it is. Cool. Hang on a second. Let me take care of this real quick. What is that, LaRoche, Matt? All right, sweet. Let me shoot over here. Go into our XRP tip bot, and we are going to see the payment solution at work as we speak. I love this. It's amazing how fast. The entire process works, and if we're going to talk about it, then we might as well make some practical use of this space. So there we go. Let's throw Matt LaRouche in here, and we've got there we go. Bam. Throw a little bit your way. Got to keep those reserves handy. So there we go. Whoop. Let me pull this back up so I can actually see what we're talking about. Man, the stream, even the feedback is faster. Yo, what's up, Chuck? Good to see you on. Faster payment. You see that, Powell? Man, we should have Powell on the live stream. If Jerome Powell was on the live stream and actually seen faster payment at work, that'd be awesome. So, Edward, what's going on? Good to see you on. A little bit outside of the element here. So bear with me, and I think the stream's actually going a lot better, technically speaking, than when we're using OBS and all that other nonsense. So, all right, so here's what we're going to start with. I want to dig in. Again, just a quick recap. We're going to talk about the Federal Reserve a little bit. We're going to talk about Walmart, Ripple, and Facebook Libra. I think those are very relevant right now. And we were just talking about Jerome Powell, and Matt LaRoche said that he basically was made to look like a fool when he was in front of the hearings because the guy didn't know what he was talking about, and the fact that he came out and specifically stated that there was no real solution and that the Faster Payment Task Force gave them 5 years to come up with a plan. And I'm sure he came back and they looked at him and they said, what the hell, 5 years, the Fed is done. Forget about it. The Fed has no part in the faster payment solution at that point. And it's ridiculous. Obviously, one of the key components of development in this space is making sure that we get regulatory clarity in the space. And that means regulatory clarity. That means that Congress has to get on board, and Congress needs to pass through specific legislation to make everything a little bit more digital asset friendly. At the same time, with that happening, the Fed is definitely slipping behind. The Fed has to get on board and actually start taking care of business as well from their perspective. Now, we could do without the Fed, and I think that the Fed has really been overstepping their boundaries. But unfortunately, government, people, whatever, the citizens of this country have really allowed that to happen for way too long. And they're starting to feel the stress right now due to the fact of this digital asset expansion. Now, why is Facebook Libra so critical to all of this? It's because Facebook Libra is the catalyst that has propelled this conversation beyond just the dialogue on CCN and Cointelegraph and YouTube and Twitter, and it's propelled the conversation beyond the borders outside of the United States, because we see Japan government, we see the Swiss government, we see governments around the world that are discussing digital asset. And then it came to the United States, and in the United States, we see that for really over the course of the past year or so, although we've seen some of the mainstream media discuss the digital asset space, we've seen some minor discussion within Congress. It is really in the past month that we've seen that discussion go all the way, through with the multiple congressional hearings, the Senate hearing, and all the way up to President Trump discussing digital assets and what that actually means, and Bitcoin and Facebook and all of that. So let's look at Facebook as the current catalyst that is propelled and is going to push regulatory clarity forward, or regulation, I should say, forward. And I think that's what's key. Now, what's, again, going back to this point with Jerome Powell, the Federal Reserve is obviously feeling the pinch. They're obviously understanding at this point that they're falling way behind. They're going to lose all control, and they're going to move into becoming completely irrelevant to the broader scheme of things. So here is a direct quote. This came from an article that was on Politico, and I'm pull out a few other quotes on this, and I think it's very intriguing. I think it's important, and you can tell that the Federal Reserve obviously understands that they're losing. And in this quote from Politico, he said the Fed was uniquely placed to overcome the difficulty of establishing nationwide access because of its existing payment infrastructure and relationship with more than 10,000 banks. So obviously they have the relationship with more than 10,000 banks, but the question is are they truly uniquely placed? So they believe that they are. So now all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this is, you go back 2 weeks ago, Jerome Powell this wasn't even top of mind. Forget about it. It was something that he was, definitely had on the back burner. This week, he comes out and says that the Federal Reserve is the one that's uniquely placed, not Facebook Libra, not Ripple with RippleNet, not, many of the others, not R3 with Corda, not all of these other solutions that are out there already. It's the Federal Reserve that is uniquely placed. Just because you have the customer base and the relationships and the infrastructure doesn't mean that you have the technology that you're going to roll out to the relationships and the infrastructure, unless the intent of the Fed is then to utilize a third-party solution, which typically, if you think about within government, they don't go out and create technology. government goes out and contracts with technology. So there's a higher probability chance then that the Fed is going to be uniquely placed due to the relationships. However, they are going to, if they're going to get into the game, that means they're going to have to partner with a third party provider, whether that is a RippleNet or whether that's an R3 with Corda. So, that I think is going to be very important that we focus on and that we monitor. So, let's see here. Let me just scroll up. All right. So, let's drill down into this political article real quick, and then and I just, not my primary site of getting news here, but I thought that this was an interesting article with some interesting comments that just came out a day or two ago. So, and then here we have, let's see. So I thought there was something else interesting that they followed this up with, and this is strictly based on the writer's opinion, but it says Powell's comments will likely escalate tensions with big banks that have invested more than $1 billion in launching their own faster payment network under the Clearinghouse Payments company. So obviously, according to all of this, banks are going to fight back, but this article is also ignoring the digital asset space. So they're very limited in focus in this Politico. There's so many within the mainstream that don't get it. And here's another one that they don't really get it, because otherwise this article would have mentioned RippleNet, would have mentioned that that's the true challenge. It's not the banks that are establishing faster payment networks. And who is it? Is it Bank of America? Is it JP Morgan? Is it the bank over in the Philippines that's trying to establish their own digital asset, cryptocurrency, and payment solution? Is it some of the other banks out there globally? But it's kind of crazy because they're missing the point, and so many times they miss the point. So it says here, banks have been preparing to fight back, and some lawmakers have joined their cause in raising doubts about whether the Fed should move ahead. So I think that's interesting. That they're bringing at least that aspect out of it, that maybe the Fed should take a back seat, let the banks do it. But again, they're missing the point, because it's not the banks that are going to do it and accomplish it. It's the RippleNet and the Corda solutions that will accomplish it. The banks are going to end up having to partner with them. However, we do see banks that are trying to roll it out, and they're spending a decent amount of money. JP Morgan is an example with JPM, spending a decent amount of money to do that. So some of those, and I think this is kind of ridiculous, but they're saying that Senator Elizabeth Warren and Senator Chris Van Hollen, as well as other lawmakers, it says here, are pressuring the Fed to go forward with its own system. So the dynamic that we're seeing with that, and I think that's interesting, is that you have certain elements within government, within Congress, that want to maintain government control. They don't want to lose government control. Now, remember, the Federal Reserve is not a branch of government, and it is a private entity that is contracted basically by the government, and it's a conglomerate of privately owned banks. So I think that that's an important aspect. However, who holds the purse strings and who pulls the strings with some of these, with the elements within government? And you hear a lot of that talk. So when they talk about the swamp and all of that, and that pushback, and that this is whether it's on the Democrat or the Republican side, it doesn't matter. Those that are beholden to others and that are going to fight for their cause before they fight for the cause of the people of the United States. So that is very all telling. But anyhow, so I just thought that was really interesting. And then at the same point, so we have what's going on right now with the Fed, and then at the very same time, we have Walmart of all companies. Now, think about Facebook and think about the Facebook customer base. And it's not just about Facebook. It's really about WhatsApp. WhatsApp is the primary tool and solution that they're going to end up pairing, that they're going to pair the Calibra with, if they ever end up getting this off the ground and launching. I think they did a little bit of a pullback just from a media perspective. Facebook did, regarding Libra, and they're talking about, if you saw the most current news, they came out and said to the shareholders of Facebook, maybe Libra won't even actually happen, because if Facebook does roll out Calibra and they do roll out Libra and they do get into the payment space, you're talking about a surge of billions upon billions of dollars in profit coming into Facebook. And then as a Facebook stockholder, that means that it's going to have a direct positive impact on Facebook stock. So they came out in their last reporting and said, oh, Libra might not even happen, so don't worry about it at this point. But what's so relevant about this is that Facebook has put everybody on notice. So Walmart has, if you go back months and months ago, when many months ago, I did a stream one time, or I did a video, not a stream. That was when I was only doing videos. And I did a video specifically on Walmart and a few others that had patents out there in the digital asset space. One of them was Walmart putting out they have a patent on blockchain. It's a blockchain patent to put an RFID chip embedded in individuals, embedded in patients. So whether it's done to each individual, the first time you go to your doctor, you embed the chip, the RFID chip that holds all your data on it, or they really wanted it more in terms of the first responders. If you were unresponsive in an accident scene, they could embed an RFID chip into you with all of the data from what was happening at that moment. But that was Walmart's focus, was how can we RFID chip people? I found that to be a little scary and nerve-wracking. Buy chip, there's another one. Buy chip, I looked buy chip up, another implantable device. I think it's also an RFID, and I don't think that that's the right way to go. We put chips in our dogs because dogs get lost, but I don't know if we want to go down the path of putting RFID chips in people. I think that has a lot of other ramification to it. There he is. There's Chip, man. We're talking about Chip. We're talking about putting the XRP minute chip. Maybe you might want to trademark that, the XRP minute chip. We're going to start embedding into people with the Yeti coin, so that way you can actually buy things a little bit quicker. You can carry your Yeti coin because it's in a RFID chip, not the buy chip, and that can potentially carry other digital asset. But we want the XRP minute chip, the RFID chip, so we can carry Yeti coin around and not imagine you're out at the pool and you don't want to carry any of your wallet or money. I mean, how easy it would be if you had an RFID chip implanted in you. But Walmart was planning on controlling that, so I found that to be, a little bit of an issue. But now here's Walmart again. So here we see, again, Facebook with Libra coin, the catalyst of this discussion within the payment space. Now, the catalyst of this discussion, so critical because now we have Walmart, again, launching their patent specifically discussing the payment space. So Walmart wanting to capture and really dominate, a lot of these, a lot of things within the economy. Walmart's definitely done a lot to attempt to, be part of multiple different parts of the economy. And obviously they're seeing challenges from their sales coming from Amazon, as many of the other retailers do. But Walmart has also launched their online store, their online sales, and they're always trying to one up and they're trying to stay relevant. Now here's Walmart issuing a patent. And now this patent was filed, let's see, January 29th of 2019. So they've been working on this a while, but it's now coming to light, mainly because of what's going on with, and this isn't a direct response, obviously, to Facebook. My point being is that the Facebook Libra is the catalyst to now show where everybody else is actually in the space as well. So, and I'm not even sure how I ended up stumbling across this. I'm trying to remember how I came across the Walmart patent. What was I was reading something and that popped up. Oh, here it is. So, and this wasn't it, but this was, so I ended up reading this article on Yahoo, and maybe this was how I ended up getting to it. But this was, their article was Walmart Malls Centralized Stablecoin. So this is Walmart getting into the digital asset space, Walmart wanting to get into the payment space. But again, the catalyst is bringing everybody's attention and focus to everybody else, what everybody else is doing out there. So if we start drilling down, and you want to start seeing patents in the blockchain space, patents in the digital asset crypto space, whether it's for stable coins or crypto in general, it's really amazing, because for years now we've seen Bank of America issuing patents in blockchain. Walmart's doing it. Many of these bigger organizations and entities that you would never really expect had been issuing patents for years and years. And obviously, we know this has all been around since 2009, 2010 with Bitcoin. But over the course of those years, and I want to say we could track back some of those patents to like 2012. I believe Bank of America now holds the most blockchain patents. I believe that's the case. And Walmart now, they've been issuing a lot of patents also in this blockchain space. And there are some areas where I would have anticipated Walmart would be relevant in the blockchain space, and that would be for supply chain or things like that. When it comes to tracking produce, whatever it might be. But here they are getting into stablecoin, wanting to get into the payment space. And as you pull up, it's interesting too, because when you pull it up, the title of the patent says System and Method for Digital Currency via Blockchain. And it's a stable coin, but they plan on pegging it basically to the US dollar. And it just, you got to go down and really read through it. It's not that long, but anyhow, it could be a little bit interesting, maybe not so interesting. So Mr. B, yes, adoption. That's for everything. So we're starting to see everybody adopt. And I think that's the key, is that we're seeing it across the board. We're seeing it from multiple different organizations, and we're seeing it from some key organizations. So what's up, DNI? What's going on, man? Slumming in the D. You know it. Look how crystal clear the stream is. And I had the place, DNI, man, you're not going to believe it. The place I'm staying has zero internet. Nothing. No internet. Everything's broken. I've never experienced that before, where there's absolutely no internet, and then I had to figure out my own solution for internet. So XRP Gandhi, real-time bank settlement. Man, there's so much focus on the real-time bank settlement. It's so important. So very important. Let's see here. Matt, Walmart would have a pretty serious treasury arm with international payments to suppliers. So maybe they need XRP directly. I think, when you look at it, and this goes back to someone else said putting up walls or whatever, you can only go so far. They can only do so much with their stable coin. If they're looking for immediate payment solution, once you start, and this has been that discussion, which is the tokenization of everything, the tokenization of stock, the tokenization of art, the tokenization of real estate. Everything is going to be tokenized. I think it's really interesting because it shifts the entire dynamic to where if everything's tokenized, then it simplifies the process also of utilizing the bridge currencies. So the bridge currency, obviously one of them, and probably the leader at this point in the space that's furthest ahead, mostly for cross-border payment, obviously is RippleNet, and XRP is that baseline. Obviously, there's some others that could grow up in the space, and there'll be some competition, which is healthy, which is needed. You can't just have a vacuum and only have one out there. Same thing on the exchanges, and Chip has brought this up before. You can't open up your exchange and say, which digital assets are out there? Oh, we got Bitcoin, Litecoin, and XRP. That doesn't work either. You can't just have 1, 2, or 3 to choose from. In a competitive marketplace, everybody has to keep pushing forward. An example like with Yeti Coin, why would we need Yeti Coin if there's XRP? Because obviously Yeti Coin serves a purpose. And then when it gets forked into like a Yeti baby, that serves a purpose as well. So it's important to have digital assets that are moving into this space. It's important that we have other companies that are fighting for a similar solution like payments. So now if Walmart wants to get into it, if Facebook Libra wants to get into it, what does that mean for for, let's say, a RippleNet or an R3, does that mean that they're okay sitting back and saying, hey, we have the best solution? Or does that mean that it pushes them to get to the next level and keep staying ahead of the game? Now, what does that mean for the Federal Reserve? Why did I bring all these companies up in the title and in the thumbnail? It's because it's all very, very relevant right now. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody understands the dynamic of what is happening and will happen over the course of the next couple of years. What's been happening up to this point, which is the identification of the blockchain technology, the identification that digital assets are here to stay, the identification that in the United States right now, they've acknowledged the fact that they can't get rid of Bitcoin, they can't get rid of digital assets. Things need to change. Regulatory clarity needs to happen. And it's all intertwined at this point. So let me see here. Bubba, did you see that lady peeking out of the curtain behind you? I did not. That's pretty hilarious. Is someone peeking? Am I getting attention over here? I moved a couple times because I didn't want anybody around me. And I came out. I'm like, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. Nobody's going to be here. No one's going to be out. I got up at 6. I worked out. And I come over here and it's quiet. And then all of a sudden, people started showing up all around me. I'm like, what the hell? I'm trying to get some privacy over here. You know, you guys don't need to gather around me. I know you guys, you guys want to hear it live in person. You guys don't want to watch it on YouTube, so they're trying to gather around me. But let's see, XRP minute. Faster payments is the key. Ripple has the solution. It's all a matter of time right now. It definitely is. Let me see here. I'm trying to see. Okay. Let's see. I thought you had some cool logo to the right of you. Turns out it's a hose. It is a hose. It is. And when I sat down, I thought it was a life preserver. But that was like one of those, I'm sitting next to a pool. So it's the only area I thought I would have some peace and quiet and shade, even though I had peace and quiet over there in the courtyard and it was quiet, but not so much. And after this, I get to go to the manager of the complex and I'm going to complain because of there's no internet. And the workout room was filthy today, which is just shocking. Yeah, if you can't clean your workout room, what's the point? There were towels there on the ground. There were cups lying around. Like, I know it's 6 o'clock in the morning and maybe someone came in and worked out at 10, but what the hell? What does the staff do in a place like this? They just sit around being lazy. What do they do all night? So let's see here. Doesn't laughing feel great? Everybody's laughing. Everybody's laughing. All right. So let's go to the next thing. We talked about Walmart. Walmart's going to take over the world. They're trying to. No. All right. So here's something that I thought was interesting as well. As we're going to drill down on it, I'm constantly trying to stay focused on what's happening in the mainstream media, what's happening in terms of their recognition of the digital asset space. And here's Forbes. Forbes has really come up with some interesting articles lately, which is, before it was all about doom and gloom. And now all of a sudden Forbes is like, oh, you know what? Maybe there's something to it. Maybe it's not all just about doom and gloom. So here's an article that they posted. And obviously these are just contributors. And so they're who knows, who knows if these people are getting paid or not. Maybe they're all just opinion pieces. But that's what Forbes has become, basically just an opinion site, which I guess most of the finance sites are, but at least they back it up with fact. But here, there could be a sudden influx of Bitcoin investors. This is the article. Let me see. This was from July 26th. Not sure if you guys saw it, but I thought it was interesting because, why is it important? Bitcoin and cryptocurrency traders are keenly waiting for the next wave of investors to enter this space. And so I think that was key. But now if we drill down into it, why is that so important? It's really because of the fact that they are identifying that there's many more people that are going to be getting into this space in a very short period of time. So one of them, and we're going to talk about Grayscale in a second. That's why I'm kind of sidelining into this. But Grayscale, they just finished a big research project. Apparently, I don't know what their research was, but let's just call it that. And they found in their research, so Grayscale in their research found that about a third of the United States of U.S. investors, so they say 36% of U.S. investors would actually consider buying Bitcoin, representing a potential market of more than 21 million investors. 21 million investors. So this is Grayscale. So it's an interesting article. So now they're saying, okay, so Forbes says, okay, there could be a sudden influx of Bitcoin investors based on this Grayscale research. Now, why is that important? Because of the fact that Grayscale, I don't know if you guys saw this, and this was, I want to say yesterday. I don't even know what today's date is. I don't know if today's the 3rd. So this was yesterday. So yesterday it was reported that Grayscale has moved billions, not millions, billions with a B, moved billions in Bitcoin, XRP, Ethereum, and Litecoin over to Coinbase to use Coinbase custody. Now, they're preparing themselves. So Grayscale understands the dynamics that this market is about to shift, and meaning that they're making room and they're preparing themselves for an influx of potentially 21 million new customers. So if they said that a third of U.S. investors have an appetite right now for investing in digital assets, investing in Bitcoin, they're preparing themselves. What does that all mean? If this is coming out and everybody's shifting and making their way for this, what does that mean for this space? And if people like Jamie Dimon are waking up, if people like Peter Schiff are waking up, if we start seeing the positive. So when we were hearing the negatives before, does that mean that all the negatives that we are hearing from these individuals, does that mean that they truly didn't believe in this space? Or were they spreading FUD to attempt to suppress the investment in this space by mainstream media? I don't know if we'll ever know that. We can only guess. Now, so if that's the case, that they were suppressing based on FUD, they were suppressing the investment of mainstream. They wanted to hold mainstream back by negatives. Now, when they come out with positives, what does that mean? Are they spreading FOMO? Are they already well entrenched and invested in space? So now when others come in, they're going to make a shit ton of money. And really, that's probably more likely the fact that they've been buying time, and accumulating, and they have to accumulate the right way because they don't want to, shift the market, similar to the way like a big mutual fund or the big hedge funds or whatever, when they start buying into large quantities of stock, they don't do it overnight. They spread it out over time so that they don't impact the trading price significantly. Minor fluctuation, but they don't want it to be impacted significantly, so they do it over time. So here it would be very similar. WB, 21 million new Bitcoin investors. They won't get one. Not necessarily Bitcoin, digital asset. So their point was that from Grayscale's perspective, it's that there's 36% of U.S. investors have an appetite of investing in digital asset. I think here, if they use Bitcoin, Bitcoin might be used more as a, let's see, I guess maybe it was Bitcoin in the article, but okay, we got it. I don't think, honestly, I don't think it's specifically just Bitcoin. I believe that it's going to be all digital asset, because if you talk about Bitcoin, you think about it. You go to someone that doesn't know anything about the digital asset space and you say digital assets, and they look at you like a deer caught in headlights and they're just blinking. Then they have no idea what you're talking about. You say cryptocurrency, some might wake up still blinking. They don't really know what you're talking about. Bitcoin, like Bitcoin. Oh yeah, like Bitcoin. Okay, like I understand that that it's used for drug dealing and things like that. No, that's not what it is. Okay, but that's typically the conversation. It always drifts back to Bitcoin. Bitcoin might end up becoming the term like the Kleenex or the tissue or whatever of the digital asset space. You talk about soda, then it's all soda. So Bitcoin might have that kind of a transition point first in the kind of, if you're going to talk about Bitcoin, or, digital, whatever, that people understand that a little bit more. So 21% or 36%, 21 million investors in the United States. Bubba, let's see. Grayscale is looking like a key player for adoption. Grayscale is moving themselves and positioning themselves very, very nicely to be a key player. You're right. Moving. Can you believe, though? This is what's so crazy about it. So it says that they moved $3 billion, $3 billion, not million, billion, $3 billion they moved in 12 hours. So they shifted all of this. Obviously, they did it in segments. They shifted a lot of holdings, pretty much all their holdings, because I think they had about the last report with Grayscale, and I think it's in this article, they had about $2.6 billion in holdings. So they basically moved all of their holdings over to Coinbase custody to make room. And so that is, pretty amazing. Let me see here. And hang on, let me drill down. Yeah, so they had a lot of stuff. They had Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Litecoin, XRP. Those are the major digital assets that they held, as well as, let's see, in this article again. This is on Forbes. This is amazing. So now Forbes is showing positives. Grayscale publicly quoted cryptocurrency trusts and its Grayscale Digital Large Cap Fund, which provides exposure to Bitcoin and crypto through a market cap weighted portfolio. I mean, it's amazing. I just think it's really amazing. Now, the other thing is that Coinbase Custody is a New York State chartered trust company. So New York State being one of the most difficult states when it comes to any kind of banking licensing or anything, financial licensing. They're the most difficult, and Coinbase Custody is a New York State chartered. That is super, super meaningful. And now Grayscale obviously moving everything over. So it says here, just to get that clear understanding, Coinbase Custody is held to the same fiduciary standards as national banks. We also offer some of the broadest and deepest insurance coverage in the crypto industry. So now Grayscale is putting their trust in Coinbase, which is now has the same fiduciary standard and responsibility as a bank. Remember, we talked about the blurring of the lines between the digital exchanges and the banks. It's happening at a rapid pace behind us, behind the scenes. It's happening. And Coinbase, being one of the largest in the United States, is making that transition before anybody else makes that transition, the blurring of the lines. And now they're holding a major, and the custody hold for Grayscale is monumental. I mean, that's a huge sum of money, and they moved it over. So that is phenomenal. I mean, that's just phenomenal. Let's see here. Matt, you said I'd take it one step further back from Grayscale. Oops, hang on. Wait. I take it one step back from Grayscale. Come on, phone. Per se, and highlight Digital Currency Group, DCG, Silbert, as pushing multiple solutions and products for adoption. That's a good one. I need to look that one up. Do you have a link to them? Maybe you threw it in already. That's a good one. We need to look at that one. XRP Gandhi, they have to spotlight Bitcoin because Bitcoin dominates the market. Once XRP has the available liquidity, maybe we'll see a switch. We might see that switch, but again, I think it comes down to terminology. Bitcoin being the first in has managed to, just being in the, it's become part of our everyday conversation in terms of the mainstream and the terminology of what people identify. But you're right, if we see more adoption of XRP, but even if RippleNet accomplishes and moves everything, and let's say XRapid goes live, and banks all over the world are using XRapid, the mainstream user, the retail, they're not going to know about all this stuff that goes behind the scene. Just like nobody understands the majority of people don't know what Swift is. The most people don't realize what a Nostro or Vostro account is when they're making these transactions. They just know they send their money and they never think about how their money gets from point A to point B. It just happens. So there's a lot of things behind the scene. But to XRP Gandhi's point, right now, there's not a lot of utility with XRP, and XRP is really still the token that is going to be utilized mostly, by banks versus others. But XRP minute, let's see, 18 million of Bitcoin already mined, 21 total supply, 3 to 4 lost forever because of custody. That means there will only be 17 to 18 million Bitcoin. That's true. And we're probably already maxed out then. We're getting to that point. You know, Bubba, New York sucks for all investors. Yeah, New York sucks for yeah. Mallory, can you imagine being the dude from Grayscale putting in that? I thought about that, man. I was thinking about that. Could you imagine? You're like, all right, I'm gonna send. All right, let's do this. Should we do this in sections of 1,000,000? You know, should we do it in 500,000s? You know, maybe that's why it took them 12 hours, because they said, well, if we lose 500,000, you know, we could probably live with that. You know, but if we lost 1,000,000, it might be a little more of a struggle. But could you imagine? All right, I'm going to take. I've got $1 billion in Bitcoin. I'm going to send $1 billion over. Oh shit! I put the wrong thing in someone else's account. It shows up $1 billion. Yeah, that would be insane. That'd be crazy. I'm sure they have a good solution for that. Let's see. Sorry, I'm a little bit behind here on your on everything. Yeah, DCG. We got to look them up. If you guys have any access to DCG, or if you have a link or something, throw that in there. Gaming Crypto, what's up, man? Good to see you on. And awesome. So got a lot of great people on this morning. Glad to see everybody. Afternoon, depending on where your night, wherever you're coming in from. So if you're coming in from Australia, then obviously I believe it's already nighttime. Asia, close to nighttime, evening. So fantastic. Oh, look, sincerely, George, good to see you on. Glad you made it and listening in the background here. So let's see here. All right, so let's move through this. We've got we just talked about Grayscale, which I thought was key, and we talked about Walmart. Man, I covered all the key topics I wanted to talk about. Grayscale was kind of the ending point. So let's put a little bit of a summary recap on this, and really try to decide where we go from. We need to look more into DCG. So DCG owns Grayscale. Oh, look at that. We're finally timing out. Good timing. Let's see. Oh, looks like we're timing out. I don't know. It's kind of funny because I can still see myself, but it's good timing. So anyhow, let's wrap this up. Again, glad everybody made it on this morning. Glad we had a great conversation. It was good to see everybody pop in. I think part of the issue is that my laptop is dying here, but anyhow, so I will be on again. I plan on being on Monday evening at 8 p.m. If everything goes okay. If for whatever reason I can't get on Monday at 8 p.m., then I will be on later in the evening. I'll try to get on by 10 p.m. on Monday. Until then, I'm not going to be doing open mic night tomorrow. I'm not going to be available. So plan on 8 a.m. or 10 p.m. Monday. I'll throw out the note and let you know which. And until then, I'll look forward to seeing you guys and have an amazing day today. So let's see how do I end this stream, and I am out of here.